We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for other mints. Hush now, city kids. When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices. I took what I had sworn. Hush now, city kids, gather round for rubbing mints. Hush now, city kids. But you know, the wouldn't let you have it any other way.
Good evening. It's the start of another week on NUFC Matters. It is the Fans Forum, as always, on a Monday night. And I'm joined by George, Magnus, Jeff, Alan, Kev, Martin, Darren, Barry and Ian. And welcome to everybody in the chat as well. Statistically, Newcastle United and Brighton played out a tight game at St James's Park in the 5th round of the FA Cup. Wasn't the most professional game I think anybody has seen. But Brighton, of course, managing to sneak past Newcastle into the quarterfinals with a 2-1 win. Ex-Mackham Danny Welbeck scoring the winner. It was always going to be him, wasn't it, if Brighton scored. And Yankuba Minteh, of course, much maligned transfer in the summer. Didn't play for the first team, but was part of Newcastle's squad last year, if you like, and obviously scored the first goal as well. Controversy in the game, which saw Newcastle have 48%, Brighton have 52%, 15 shots for Newcastle to 21 for Brighton, both equal 5 on target and 6 off target. Tells you how tight the game was. But controversy, of course, in the sense that our left-hand sided player, Anthony Gordon, was dismissed, red carded, which of course means he will now miss the Carabao Cup final. Add to that the missing Lewis Hall. Saw Tino Livramento playing in an unfamiliar left side of defensive role, and the story coming out of St James's Park at the moment is that he's now off to see a specialist, which could mean that when we come to the cup final in less than 2 weeks' time now, that strong left-hand side, which we've paraded all season, is going to be unavailable to us. 2-1 then, lost the game. And doom and gloom definitely does surround Tyneside at the moment. It is very difficult to be positive when this kind of thing happens. But two things I'll say. First of all, both teams yesterday gave it a go. It was a slightly awkward game at times, but there was very little between the two teams, as you could say in the league game as well. And secondly, we still got a cup final to play. And one player doesn't make a team. Neither does two players. It's all about the team game. Newcastle have got less than 2 weeks to give themselves an almighty lift before they go to Wembley. And funnier things have happened. Let's not forget the crazy gang beating the Culture Club in the FA Cup. Wimbledon, who weren't given a cat and hell's chance, going in against the same opposition against Liverpool, winning with that headed goal. And it can happen. It can happen. There needs to be a sense of perspective, I think, amongst the fan base in the build-up. Don't go down to Wembley thinking that it's already done and dusted. It's easy to think that after a negative result like yesterday, and how we're all feeling after Gordon sending off. Exactly the same as we felt when Nick Pope was sent off. But you know what? We need to be more positive. Gonna ask the lads now for their views on the game. We'll start as always with Ward George. George, very difficult not to feel disappointed, mate. But what's your feelings after yesterday? You've had a night to reflect on it.
Well, still very disappointed. You can't be anything other. There was so much about it that was, and it's worse after you see the draw for the next round. The fact we would have had a home tie against nobody, basically, as far as I'm concerned. Never mind. The game for 30 minutes, it was ours. And indeed, I'd go as far as to say, had that offside goal from our centre forward been allowed, I think would have been out of sight by half time. But ifs and ands don't win matches, and of course, the dreaded time to lose an equaliser in any game is right on half time, and we did it. That's what we did. I was quite surprised when Young Hall wasn't in the team, and we certainly missed him. But I thought Trippier played very well. The other thing I noticed about Trippier was on the pitch, he was captain. You could see him directing things, all sorts of things from the sideline, and it wasn't being done. Even when Bruno came on, he continued for the little bit that he was still on. But yes, Isak was Mayer's offside, but I'm saying if he hadn't been, that would have made the difference. Anyway, there's so much I want to say, but too much of it negative. This week, Liverpool and Brighton have just demonstrated the folly of where we are with this PSR thing. We have 11 players who we can put on the pitch who demolished Arsenal at the Emirates, did it again at St James's Park, and have done it to other big teams all over the country when they've been on song. The trouble is, we only need to lose one or two of those, and we're in a mess. As you know, we couldn't cope with Liverpool, and part of what happened yesterday was the fact that we didn't have our strongest side out. We were losing with injuries again, and we've got. If we think we've got problems about centre forward, all this sort of thing, well, one thing I do agree with Darren about is we need to look further than that. We've got an aging back row, which is all going to need to be looked at. The other folly it shows is the fact that we haven't invested in 3 windows. It's the staring you in the face as to where the problems have come from, but also some of our thinking, some of our thoughts on the field seem to have gone a bit awry. Too many cross-field balls to danger. I mean, as a school kid, I can still remember Alec Tato was my teacher. If you passed the ball, cross-field flat, as I would say, he was shouting at you, "Yeah, whack, you're doing," and yesterday they were doing it all the time. And I just don't know where that comes from. Well, it comes from the coaching field, obviously. And players who, especially when we went into extra time, players that were on the pitch or came on the pitch, it needed one of the senior professionals to take a hold. And somebody and I'm going to criticise Jacob Murphy, he should have been doing more. He had 2 opportunities to shoot a goal, and he made ridiculous passes when he should have been taking the responsibility of having a shot at the goal. We can't afford that. So, so much, Dubravka made 2 fantastic saves, but again, for me, demonstrated why he's a better goalkeeper than Nick Pope. The ball that he threw out to Isak, had the Brighton centre half not fouled Isak, that was Isak on his way to the other goal. But of course, the Brighton centre half had the nous to kick Isak off the ball. That quick throw would never have been happened if Nick Pope had been in the goal. And he made quite a lot of reasonable catches, but 1 or 2 absolutely blinding point blank saves, which really were outstanding. Throughout the game, there was only one player for me who lived up to nearly lived up to his position, and that was Sandro Tonali. From start to finish, he never stopped. Must have covered every blade of grass on St James's Park. And in the second half of extra time, for a period of about 10 minutes, it was Tonali versus Brighton, because he was the only one really looked like doing anything. Sadly, a couple of times he's delayed his shot a bit when he perhaps could have took it sooner, but I'm not going to criticise him for that. He was really having a go. And then there are other things like that brilliant header by Willock. Did you see it, lads? I mean, how the devil do you miss something like that? It didn't even crease his way, his forelock, never mind touch his bloody head. And it went straight across to the other side for a throw in. Goodness, if you can't do that, you don't win matches, and that's what happened yesterday. We demonstrated this week clearly to our owners that as we stand at the minute, we're average, just maybe better than average sometimes. But if we've got the support for the first 11, as I call them, we can beat anybody. But we haven't at the moment, and that's the problem we're going to have. And until whenever somebody gets hold of the notion that we need some changes, big changes. And again, going back to I'm sure Darren will raise it when he speaks. The age of this team, and particularly the back line, is getting too bad. We need Botman back and some other youngsters to go in beside him, so it was just awful. Is a word I can use, and it's at a bad time of the season for lots of things, not least the cup final, but also for the rest of the season. In my view, they've got to pick them up to win some points still. The only other thing I was going to talk about was the Anthony Gordon thing. In the heat of the moment, everybody can make a mistake, and you can't excuse him. He raised his hands. I have to say it was a push rather than anything else, which I think. One of the Brighton players that came steaming in made a bigger push on Shah and knocked him to the ground as he came in to have his say, and he didn't even get booked. But I'm not going to excuse Anthony Gordon. He's a professional footballer earning lots of money. He should know when to keep his hands to himself. And it was, it just added hurt onto the rest. The other very last thing was the automatic offside thing. If it's automatic, why did it take 5 bloody minutes to decide it was offside? In the Euros, if it was offside, the referee said offside within seconds. But our people at Stockley Park, when they get their hands on technology, they've got to do it their way, their wrong way. If it's automatic, they should be able to tell us in seconds, not 5 bloody minutes. And does it really help me to hear the referee saying number 5 was offside? Well, no, bloody fine. That's what you are going to talk about. Show with the pictures. Let us see it for ourselves. That's what we need to know. We don't need to hear you telling them about it. So I'll stop there, otherwise the whole hour and go. But yeah, very disappointing, and as I say, very few pluses as far as I'm concerned.
George, I think everybody's going to have a bit of a moan tonight, so it's not something I'm expecting it tonight. I just, like I said at the start, I just think there needs to be a little bit of perspective, and as a supporter, as our job is to support. I don't think many people did that yesterday. I think again it was poor from the crowd. I think the crowd were just sitting on their hands for best part of that game, with the exception of the usual sections of the ground. And it's just such a disappointing result. Magnus, your thoughts from Iceland?
Yeah, I am disappointed. I think every time we lose out on an opportunity, I'm going to put it this way. To me, there's four floodlights in the beginning of a season, and I think during this last week, one of them was switched off, and at least half of one also against Liverpool, because the league is out of reach. The FA Cup is out of reach. Now we just got to focus on the lights that are still left. With regards to the game, I was just as surprised as anybody else to see two right backs and two left wingers in the starting lineup. I am a little bit more into believing that put players likes for likes. So that I thought it was a little bit strange to have both Tino and Trippier on the pitch. However, they played all right. I take nothing away from them. But the two left wingers, I mean, why not give the kid a crack, Osula, or anyway, I'm not going to get stuck into too much negativity. The two goals that we scored that were offside were sensational, and it's not like we aren't creating enough. They just used their opportunities better, and Welbeck again has cost us, and I'm going to just try not to be too disheartened by this, and focus on the positivity of we are still well within the reach of the Champions League, and now we can totally focus on taking that trophy home. Obviously a little bit of a deja vu with Gordon being thrown off the pitch. I thought that was a little bit harsh. You could see that we're both pulling shirt in the incident, and I thought it was a little bit harsh. I don't think we're going to be crying about it. Upwards and onwards. We'll take the trophy home, and forget about this. This happened. Forget about last week. We go on to the next one. Let's beat West Ham.
Okay, positivity from Magnus. Jeff, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. It's about time we had some positivity. Yeah. I feel it's my job to try and find positives.
Go on, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, apart from the set pieces, which is my normal rant, now we have a set piece coach. It's all gone to pieces. God knows what was going on. And in a sense, I can sort of understand the frustration of that young man, because he was taking the corners, he was tackling back, he was supplying the ball, he was doing absolutely everything. And I think he just got frustrated that he was the one that was doing it all. Apart from, as we said, Tonali did his normal act of just extraordinary things. But there's far too much of this casual five-a-side football where they just flick the ball. As if, I think that it comes from practicing five-a-side too much. What did I got a nasty... I want to say something at this moment in time, which I think is important. I want to remember MH17, John and Liam, and over 290 other people who died. And I think we ought to remember what side we're on. Not that I want to prejudice anybody's politics here. And to say that ICE, as in Iceland, stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So you might find yourself as becoming part of the United States. So there you go.
Wow, Jeff, you never know where you're going to go, but you certainly make an impression.
Thank you.
Alan, any negativity or positivity from you today?
The only positive I've got, Steve, is we've got two weeks to go over the final. I'm as low as a snake's belly. I can't deny it. I had a rant for a half an hour, never stopped swearing for half an hour after the game. We've been in 3 finals in 55 years, and we've messed up in 52 of them years. Dubravka was my star man. I stemmed the atmosphere, Steve. I was going to highlight that by saying Ian Wright had the same feeling that he thought their fans would be on right up for the game, but it stems from the Liverpool game the week before, Steve. It was another non-performance at Anfield, and I expect exactly the same at Wembley. But on the positive side, I've only got 2 weeks to wait until it's all over, and then we can concentrate on the league and see if we can get some points, because you can bet your bottom dollar we'll start winning games after the cup final. Gordon, Rash, I just hope there's not a social pylon on him, because, to be honest, Pope has never been the same since he got sent off. In my opinion, he's went downhill since the sending off before the last cup final. He was superb prior to that, and then he's gradually just got worse and worse. For confidence-wise, he has. Just injuries and everything. It just felt like a rerun of 2023 for me, lads. The run into the final, the sending off, the chance of getting to Wembley, were a massive chance. And like I said to the lads before the start of the show, there's only one club that's won a major trophy in the last 20, 25 years, and there's 7 of them there that have got a massive chance of winning it, and we've blew our chance, and it just sticks in the craw. The players lacked energy, which I found amazing, but we've got to pick ourselves up. This is part and parcel of being a Newcastle United fan. The lows are low and the highs are highs. They take you up to the heights and then they drop you down from 20 feet below, you know. But I'm not going to, like Denise says, it's no good piling on the players. George said it quite rightly. We haven't bought any for 3 windows, but unfortunately, we're the 5th highest spenders over the last 5-6 years, lads, and that's why PSR, because of Ashley and the squad Eddie Howe's inherited, he can't do any more until this next summer window. It's a stepping stone, and unfortunately, we've still got 6 or 7 players that Man City, if they had their rebuild, we wouldn't be there. We would be buying players left, right, and centre, but we haven't been able to. So the rug's been taken away from it, but I'll let the other lads get on, because I'm ready to cry, lads. I'm ready to cry. But it's another golden opportunity lost, and I'm not going to even mention the fact I'm going away next week to try and build myself up for that final. But I'll be there with bated breath. But enough said. I won't say anything more because it'll just be negative.
Ian,
hello, mate.
What's your thoughts then on yesterday's cup exit and the aftermath of it, with Gordon now facing the inevitable suspension and the news on Hall not seeming good either?
Yeah, how can I word this? It's not great, is it? But like positives, there's a few. J7 being back, that's a massive positive for me. And at least if we can get him up to some sort of speed, he could go out on the left potentially if needed. So I'm glad J7's back. With regards to Gordon's red card, it is a red card. There's nothing in it. Like he just thrashes out like a bit petulantly. But I don't know whether anyone else seen the kid that he doesn't look like he's trying to hit him in the face. It just looks like he's trying to push him, and the kid's sort of going down a little bit. So he catches him in the face. You can't do that. You're off. You know, you're going to be off, especially with that penis colada referee. And you know what I mean. He couldn't wait. But saying that, the lads steamed into Gordon first, and I don't know whether that was picked up on by anybody else. But he actually went in and pushed Gordon, which then made Gordon reacted to. So it's no excuse. He shouldn't have done it, obviously. But that's, I think, you just got to say it's one of them heat of the moment things, really, isn't it? But like the Lewis Hall injury, to me, that is devastating. Because he's been our best player for me. Losing him is a complete knacker. But we'll wait and see. They said he's with a specialist, which generally means it's at least a month out, and that's usually anyway means there's an injury there. Trying to think of other positives if there are any. Well, Isak, you know, apart from constantly, not constantly, sorry, that's wrong. Apart from being offside a few times, Isak looked on fire again for certainly the first half. He looked, I thought he looked really good. He's finished. That's the finish that got ruled offside, which was well offside, by the way, was unbelievable. And so, yeah, negatives, a lot of them. I'll pick out my biggest one is Willock could not score in a flipping brothel, could he? You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ almighty. How he missed that header. He just looks away, just takes his eye off the ball at the last minute. All he had to do was literally just leave his head where it was and keep his momentum going. And it's a goal. So I just couldn't believe he didn't get that. Cher's face behind him was like he just looked and was like, how have you missed that? Yeah, that's about it, really. I think all the other lads have covered everything that I would say. It just really disappointing. I suppose one more positive was it was two sides that are quite evenly matched, and we didn't have the rub of the green, so we didn't help ourselves at all. But at the same time, I don't think it was by far. It wasn't our worst performance of the recent times. Never mind the season. So we've just got to keep the faith, see what happens. Everyone's thinking writing off the cup final now. It's one game. You never know what can happen. You know, we've got J7 back. I think that's a massive, massive, massive point to us. And Tino looks all right at left back as well. So if we need a left back, I would stick Tino there for me personally.
Okay, interesting stuff, Barry.
Where do you start, Steve? I have to apologise to Tom once again for our chat yesterday because I was absolutely foaming. I lost the plot. Gordon just lashing out. He got everything he deserved. He just lashed out, and he's got to know better than that. He's a professional footballer who gets paid an astronomical wage, and he couldn't keep his temper under control for 2 minutes. But seeing that, I have to stand up in his defence. The amount of abuse he's getting and the comments that are being made about him, he deliberately got himself sent off because he's a Liverpool fan. He wanted to miss the final anyway. The Newcastle fans who are coming out with that want to go and support the Mackhams.
Well, they're not fans.
No, it's like he's still our player. Yes, he made a bad decision. He made a bad choice, but he's had a cracking few games this season. I'm not saying he's been brilliant all the time, but he's the best young player we've got in that position, and we've got to stand by him. I thought we got what we deserved, Steve. We were poor right the way across the pitch. I totally agree with what the guys have said. The defence, I am concerned that I'm reading this afternoon that Trippier's picked up an injury as well. I don't know how true that is and how long-term that is. So if you then add him to the list as well as Hall, it's exactly what George says. PSR is just, it's come back to bite. We've lost players right, left and centre now through suspension as well as injury. We bought nobody. We've got no strength in depth at all. And we're now reaping what we've sowed. I know we're being backed into a corner and there's not a lot the club could have done about it, but you just think the cup final, for me, the players have been concentrating so much on that for the last 2 or 3 games. I'm ashamed of them for that. We had an awful lot to play for, i.e. the league points and everything else, and they've been concentrating on the cup final. You can see it in the way they're playing. The effort's not there. The performance against Liverpool was really poor. The performance against Man City was shocking. Yes, I agree with Ian. They played better against Brighton, but they haven't looked the same team. And if that's down to the fact they're playing at Wembley, I'm ashamed of them. We've got a lot more to play. We had a lot more to play for yesterday than just the League Cup final. Like the guys have said, we probably stood a much better chance of winning something because of the FA Cup than we did with the League Cup. Because I think Liverpool are going to absolutely hammer us. I can't see with the way the team's playing and the tactics that Howe's putting in place. I know what you're saying, Steve, that Wimbledon did beat Liverpool in that final, but it was completely against the run of the play. And I just cannot see it. As a Newcastle fan and having supported them for 48 years, we don't get that sort of look. That doesn't happen to us. We have to rely on being... I've never seen it in my lifetime. I know George, bless him, has probably seen better luck on our side than I have. I cannot see it. And I think we need to write the League Cup final off concentrate on the West Ham game. If we turn Liverpool over, great. I'm not saying write it off completely. Just try not to focus on it. Concentrate on the West Ham game. Do what Eddie Howe does. Look at the next game. Look at what we're focused at is the next match, and just try and pull ourselves back together. Because at the minute, like the guys have said, we're being split up in so many directions. It's unreal, and the confidence is absolutely shot. I think, like people have said in the chat, certainly Moz has said in the chat, we need to get behind Gordon and not treat him the way Alan said the Pope was treated, because he's still our player. And he will no doubt make up for it given time. We just need to get behind them. And I didn't say that yesterday. I have to admit yesterday, but today I'm trying to be trying to look at it that it's our team, and we need to support them regardless of what happens on the pitch.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. The cup final is a chance to win a trophy, and for me now, everything should be focused. It makes Eddie's team talk against West Ham very simple. You need to make a show. I haven't picked my team next week. You need to make sure that you give it your all. So we should really be putting a performance in against West Ham, and hopefully. That leads to a decent performance at Wembley and Newcastle winning their first cup. That's where I'm at. Anyway, Darren, good evening.
Yeah. Hello. Well, we did start great. I'd like to say I can't know I said I meet you, and I didn't see George before the game, so I'm blaming George. I didn't see you before the game.
That's it, Darren. I missed the talk.
I didn't see you before the game, so that's one of the reasons why we didn't win, George. So.
Pre-game argument.
Right. Where do I start? I thought first 30 minutes. I thought we'll play it all right, decent, and then we let a staff goal in. But we had pacey players in against our old men backed centre halves. They were beating them all day long. It was a toss-up who had the worst game between Dan Burn and Fabian Shaw, because Dan Burn can't open a head on his own box. He's jumping for balls, he's not winning headers. And it's happening every week now. And he's keep going forward, wondering going forward. His instruction, or he's just doing it on his own back. He's dripping forward, thinks he's attacking midfielder. He's not. And my mate Jacob Murphy has shown you. I know he scored goals. He's done all right, but when you need a player to do something decent at the right time, he cannot do it. He cannot deliver. That's why he's knee good for us. And unfortunately for him, he's a lucky man. We've got knee competition on that right hand side, so he's got to play. That's the worrying thing. I thought Bruno come on. He was very slow on the ball. And Matty's target, did you know across the ball? You can't hit the player. I thought Tino done all right on the left hand side. I thought he'd had a good game. Tino, he was doing a few good runs. Gordon again. Yes, you can call him, but I'm sorry, it's heat at the moment. He's done wrong. It's heat at the moment. Was it sending off? Yes, it was. He raised his hands, let the lorries off. He got wound up. He's trying his hardest. Joe, well, how he's missed that, God knows. That head, I've watched it. I've seen it. How he's got me baffled. But it hurt. I was a bit knocked last night. I'm still a bit knocked today, but. What I'm more knocked about is like Barry Allen said right off the final. Why? You wanted us there, didn't you? Didn't you? And like I'm saying, you wanted us in the final. You wanted to win the cup.
Darren, it doesn't matter what we see in the chat here. Like Denise it's the players that count. It's the players in 74 that didn't turn up. 76 that didn't turn up, 98 that didn't turn up, 99 that didn't turn up, 2 years ago that didn't turn up. It's not what we say. The players, Man City were 2 weeks ago, 4-0 that didn't turn up. Liverpool last week, they didn't turn up, they didn't perform. It was a non-performance. That's where I come from. It's
So
not
what? So we
the players.
so we go down
If the players
Wembley.
don't turn up, no matter how much we sing and dance at Wembley, that won't change the results. I respect and he's greatly in the chat. It comes over really positive. I expect them to win in 2 weeks, 2-1. Okay, I expect us to win 2-1 against Liverpool, if they had the belief. But do the players, like Steve said at the start, don't be negative. I'm not negative. It's the players that are negative, man.
And I would, what you said win the cup, you said get a fail, right? Yes, we're not playing good. Well, I'm going down. I'm going down. I want to win. But no, so you see that you Newcastle fan, don't go down there. You
That's
expect to
good
get
all
beat.
away.
You tell the Newcastle fan to go down there. I'll have some belief in your players, in your squad. We're all going down there for a reason. We're all going down there thinking we can win a game. However, mate, we're a football fan. I'm not going down there to lose. I'm going down to win. You know what I mean? I respect the fans. I'm going down there. Steve's going down there. Denise is going down there. We're all going down there for one reason. Not just for a deal. We're going there to win, for hoping to win the League Cup, mate. However, it's not just... Because it's right the League Cup. Yes, we did 2 years ago. But we're still going down there. We're still going down there for the... compete with Liverpool and try to win the League Cup, mate.
Let's win it.
Exactly.
So win it.
Let's bloody win it.
But I would, you've been body saying rate it off. Scrap it off. You can't say that. It's got to be baffled.
Barry, anything to say?
The performances.
my write it off, Darren, was they need to concentrate on West Ham first.
We're not going to win the Champions League. We're not.
But it's still it's still the next game. We've got to build up the confidence. We've got to put in a good performance because otherwise we're going to get to Wembley and our confidence is going to be
understood, Darren.
No, he said write it off. He did say write it off. He did say, he did break the
for that game.
We worry about I just mean worry about the cup final on cup final day, Darren. I agree. Go for it. The fans deserve us to go for it. Just at the minute, we need to concentrate on the league game and get that out of the way because that's we're so focused on the cup final at the minute. It's ruining everything else. We just need to take it one game at a time. I'm not saying right off the cup final.
You did say that?
We did. Not completely. I just mean for the time being.
You watch back when you speak. That's what you said.
Yeah, and guys, there's only 2 games in March. Then they got an international break in all of this. Let's just win them both. No nonsense.
Yeah, exactly, Magnus. Exactly.
Okay, Martin, did you want to go off and get a beer? I've just noticed your message in the private chat. Are you? Bring your. Are you on mute, Darren?
Sorry,
Martin, what can I tell you? You've got no volume for some reason. Shall I go to?
No.
Oh, I can hear you now. We can hear you now.
I don't know what's going on yet. Must be the headphones. No, I didn't want to run off. I feel like I should be the one in the crowd asking Darren, "Have you not got a suit?" If you're going to turn up for a scrap, at least wear a suit, Darren. Yeah.
Get it measured.
I think there's loads being said, and I think if the players had as much passion as there is from the 10 of us that's on this panel, then we'd go down to Wembley and we'd piss it. But they don't have it at the minute, and I think it's for multiple reasons. I think overall, game-wise, I think some of the lads have called it right. Like I watched it back again last night before I went to bed. We didn't play that bad. We weren't shocking, which we have been a couple of times this season. We had chances. Isak with 2 mint finishes, one which gets pushed offside, and the same with Shaw. It is what it is, lads. I think with the Gordon piece, look, no sympathy. He was stupid. You can't raise your hands. However, what I would say is that's down to the referee. Because if the referee had dealt with their fullback for the tackle on Joe Linton, he wouldn't have been on the pitch and the incident with Gordon would never have happened. So part of the issue for me, again, unfortunately, with the game that we had yesterday, is every time that referee turns up for a Newcastle game, he loves to be the centre stage. He sent off Pope, he sent off Gordon, and when we've had him in the league, there's always something happens with Anthony Taylor. Every second game we have. And whether it's a dislike for Newcastle or Eddie Howe or whoever, as soon as you get him in a game, I tend to just write it off. And if anybody was watching me on Twitter yesterday, I said Brighton 2-1, Minter to score. And I wasn't too far out because he just does nothing for us in that. The players for me, and I said this earlier on, they just look so leggy and so tired apart from one or two of them. And I just wonder, are we overtraining them? Are they? And I know that Eddie Howe is a stickler for the training and he's got these routines and everything else. And I'm not saying that we got to go back to what Steve Bruce was doing, but
No training.
In particular, the younger lads that are just overtraining. I don't know. But I think the attitudes, the likes of Willock, missing the chance. You can't even say that he's ring rusty because he's been getting a run in the team. So that's not acceptable. But the likes of Barnes and some of the other players, the likes of Target and others that are not getting the first team run out, where's their fight? Where's their fight to get back in the team? Yeah. Where's Barnes banging on the door going, I should be in there ahead of Gordon? Because let's be honest, lads, Anthony Gordon hasn't been great for the last 5 or 6 games. I'm sorry, he's been absolutely shite. So is he going to be as big a miss in Wembley? I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced. Because I tell you what, I'd play Joe Linton to the left. You've got Barnes. You could play Isak out there and Osula through the middle. So there's multiples of different things we can do. However, my question is, unfortunately, I don't think the gaffer changes it. Highly likely the only change I think he make will be to set up going to the cup final the same as we did against Arsenal, which is 5 at the back. If they're all there, and obviously we're not going to likely have Hall, will Botman be back? I don't know. Hopefully he is, but to me, I hope he's not turned into another Woodgate. Class when he's on the pitch, but he can't stay fucking fit. Because that's what it's looking like at the minute, and that worries me massively. So I think you have to question the players not turning up. I think, look, you can have games. I think, for me, there's 2 teams in the league who I would sit there and say over the last few seasons have been our bogey teams. Liverpool's one, Brighton's the other one. Because we just can't string a win together against any of them. And it was the same again this season. So, look, Wembley, it's a one-off. It's a one-day game. I agree with some of the lads. Anything can happen. So I'm going to keep a bit of positivity. I think it's going to be tough because I think just the form that Liverpool are in, I would say, like I said last week, they've probably got, I would say at the moment, the best player in the world in Salah on form and in credit. And I think, it's going to be a big ask, but it's not unachievable. Anything is possible, but we have to change the attitude and the mentality. And that for me is wrong. But I think Howe also needs to shake it up. I think, Baz is right. I think we've got to focus on West Ham. This game's gone. Park it. It's yesterday. Focus on West Ham. Go down to London Stadium. Go get 3 points because we need the 3 points. It's anybody from 8th up to 3rd. It's literally 3 points to put you in 3rd place.
Yeah.
So if Liverpool do the double, it's a chance to open up 8th spot for the Europa Cup. So we're still well in the running. We've got a Wembley date. On a positive, we're not going to get beat at 2 Wembley finals, so that's a positive, right? Might only be 1. So I'll take the positives. Gordon should know better, but there's players, and I unfortunately I will name Shah in this, who have experienced first-team campaigners. I think they need to start stepping up, and I want to see a bit of fight. I'll state the fact again that I did the other week. Bruno, I'm sorry, but he's not a captain for me. And until we change the captaincy around and we get somebody that will drag those players and tell them to get their fingers out and get their socks up, I think we'll still struggle. But I think there's a bit of positivity. And I'll finish. I have one question just in case the luck doesn't change. And maybe, George, this question's for you. I read something that apparently our bad luck and curse is down to the fact that in 1955, apparently we threw some gypsy travellers off of the Benwell Park training ground and we got a hex put on us for 100 years. So I only read that on Twitter. Now, listen, it was Twitter, so it's probably not right.
It's absolutely true. No, it's absolutely true.
Is it? There
yeah.
you go. See, I know.
Yeah,
the man who knows.
The pitch that there used to be on Barrack Road, which was sometimes used, was invaded by some travellers, and they got them off smart quick. But this old woman came to St James's Park with a not white heather, but some sort of substance, and danced a dance in the car park and put a curse on the place. So it's one of the reasons we have two mascots.
Obviously, wasn't lucky heather anyway.
So we have to wait another 25 years.
So that's why we've got two magpies.
Well, now we know. But yeah, anyway, look, that's me. I think, look, there's bits of positivity. I think we've got to keep going. And I think just final thing before I pass on to Kev. I think the crowd. I know. Listen, lads. We're famous for the crowd and the flags, but I thought the crowd yesterday was flat. I thought it was really, really poor. And I think we need to up our game big style. And in particular, I think we need to get more people singing. And if we do redevelop the ground or we get a new one, I think we need safe standing and everything else, because we need to bring them days back. But yeah, that's me, Kev.
Go on, Kev. Over to you.
Well, I think I missed the best third of the game. I've slept in. I got the game time wrong over here in the United States. I slept in. I missed the best bit. Glad to be back, by the way. It's been a while, so glad to see you.
Welcome back, Kev. Welcome back.
Good to see you, man.
Disjointed, sloppy, disorganized, players not knowing what they're doing. I can go to the Liverpool game. Joe really looked lost in that game. Looked like it was a 4-4-2, 4-4-1, 4-1-4-1. Looked lost. Players look lost. Don't know what again within shape, formation, tactics. I'll go ahead, jump right into the Brighton game. It was basically, in my opinion, from what I've seen, you have it, we have it. Who can break each other down the quickest and see who can get out with a sneaky 2-1, 1-0 and see what happens at the end of the day. It was poor by both sides. They were there. Anthony Taylor, the referee, pretty much played into Brighton's hand with the stop-start nature of the game, the physicality of the game. Which for an away side, that's what you want. You want to break the play up. You want to stop the home side getting a foothold in the game, to be proactive, to take the game to Brighton or whoever the opposition is. So I thought that was it is what it is. But from my perspective, and I agree with George in terms of playing, like Dan Burn playing a right-footed 10-yard pass inside to a number 6 with a high press. That's it's pretty much suicidal. Yes, I understand playing out from the back and all the rest of it, but to do that multiple occasions over the past 5 or 6 games is becoming a bit of it's not a good eye test for our players and our way we want to play. It's easy for opposition to pick that up and just force us centrally, and it's easy. And we haven't got any plan B, anything else. When the ball goes into Isaac, it's either misplaced or it's overhit or just fired in at him and you can't do really anything with it. Where do you go from there? I'll touch on the Gordon thing. Yeah, I think Ian said it's petulant and he stole that word, and I thought it was immature. I thought it was not that, I understand that you've seen red mist, but as a professional footballer, you've got to be mature enough to know when it's an offside decision and you hear the whistle blow, you kind of don't worry about what's going on. The ball's running out of play. You just get back into your shape and we'll go again. So that was my stance on that. It is a red card. You can't do that, regardless if you push him in the back of the head, whatever. Could have hit him. If you're going to do a bit more properly and smash him in the face for me. But that's just me. Rather than trying to just accidentally shove somebody in the back. But again, it's an attitude thing, the mentality thing. The Willock chance for me, I was heading the ball for him, and I'm thousands of miles away, and I think I could have got my head on that. That was the chance that would have probably put us through, and that changed the game. And it fell to the wrong player. Unfortunately, it wasn't to a player who's probably in a better header of the ball, or even if Fabian Shaw, who was 5 yards behind him, he would have probably put that. Anybody would have put it in, but it fell to Joe Willock, and it's happened over he missed one from 2 yards earlier in the season, I believe, or whenever it was. So he's prone to the the howler or the ball going through his legs and he's missed hitting it, or technique falls apart when he's in the box. He's like the new Lee Clark, right? He's like a jigsaw when he gets in there, he falls to pieces in the box. But at the end of the day, it's one-off games, you know. So it's the FA Cup. So you get what you get. The end result is the end result. Again, it's just disappointing because I thought we could have had a domestic cup run in both the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. We could have had a good run. Just seen the draw when you guys were talking, and then you get a home draw. Yes, it's Ipswich or Forest or whoever's going to be, but it's a home draw and it's an opportunity to build that consistency, to build that form into another cup final that we got going, and that breeds confidence. You know, Liverpool have got I don't know how many games before our final, but they're preparing for that next one. I agree with Barry in that you have to prepare for the next one. You can't look too far ahead, and I think that's been our downfall. I think that's been our detriment and as a mentality that we've got. We've got this game, great. Okay, but we've got a cup final in the next 4 weeks. So I think that's been pushed to the side and swept under the carpet. Essentially, is a bit of an issue mentally for the players because they know they have to go there and perform. And I think it's been very timid in terms of their work rate, desire, wants. We've all just you've all said it every pre-me in that don't want to get injured, don't want to get now sent off, but somebody did, you know. So there's all these factors that play on players' minds to where they want to be in that final, but they're doing everything else outside of that not to perform on the given day. So there's a cyclical type of thing where it's like, okay, well, I can't do this. If I do this, this might happen, you know. So it was just weird. It's been a weird watch. It's been a weird month to watch us. You just don't know what. It's a Jekyll Hyde United, right? So you just don't know what you're going to get. It's like watching my under-8s team. You just never know what you're going to get. It is what it is. But that's for me where Eddie Howe has to come into play, where to galvanise this group against West Ham. Steve, you said it, where your team talks easy. Put that right. Put that shit show right over the past 4 weeks. Put it right, because you've got to play your way into a final here. That's your job against West Ham, which I think is going to be very difficult, by the way, against a Graham Potter side who's done us over with a Brighton side, go figure, and tactically and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's not going to be an easy game, but it's the Premier League, right? So, look, everybody said it. The final's a final. It's a one game. You know, I think George or whoever says it, it's two posts on a 100 by 90 yard field with a one ball, 11v11. Anything can happen. So why not give it a go? I want to see all them players run through a brick wall for the club, for the city, and for the fans of 70 years of despair and not lifting anything, and just run through a brick wall for this club. If you want to go and be the champion, play in the Champions League, if you want to go and do this, what you hear in media reports, if you want to go and do that, well, show it in a final on one of the biggest stages in what this country has to offer. If you want to go and progress your career, allegedly, go and do that and show the world what we're about.
Kev, just want to ask you about Dubravka, because the big decision that he made, I mean, there's only one of you has mentioned Dubravka. I'm going to bring Pablo in, by the way, to finish the show, who is sitting patiently in the green room. He brought Dubravka in for Pope. Is that his goalkeeper now, Kev, in your mind for the final?
Yeah. I would. He made a fabulous save. Was it extra time?
Yeah.
Was it extra time? That was a wonderful save. Granted, I think it was Solly March. He was in an offside position, so it might have been pulled back for that. But regardless, it was a wonderful save. And I feel a little bit more calm, even when he had it in. I think it might be in the same passage where he had the ball at his feet. He played a ball into the central midfield area, and I thought, oh, that looked under hit, or that looked a dangerous ball. But I think it was Bruno, and Bruno got him out of it. But it was that confidence to play that ball into them areas and not be flustered, not be saying a moan around the ground, but, you know, just having that ability to see the pass further forward. But I think Martin Dubravka has done nothing really wrong. You know, it's the other 10 players in front of him who's got to protect him at some point. He can only do so much. Yeah. You know, he's the scapegoat at the end of the day when the ball goes past him 4 times at City. Well, if you look at it, you know, it's not all him. You know, the goal again with the Minte goal, well, it took a massive deflection off Kieran Trippier, you know, so he's probably in a decent position to save, but that's not really down to him. That's a covering defender and it just nicks off of him and it goes in. That's just football, right? That just happens. It's not down to Martin Dubravka's position or ability, but I think Nick Pope's got a mountain to climb to get back in this side, and that's what he might need.
Okay, we're going to take Barry out. He's got to go. Barry, we'll take you out. Thank you, mate. See you next week.
Take care, Barry.
Take care, Barry.
Take care, Barry.
See you, Barry.
Get them doors back and bring in Pablo. There he is. Pablo, how are you, mate?
Very good, lads. Very good. Just got in from work.
Yeah, double shift on the buses for you today, mate. Is it like Reg Varney used to show on the TV?
Yeah, absolutely like that, mate. It's a carbon copy, yeah. We are northern.
It so happens you're late because you were dropping Adam P off at home.
Well, I actually thought I'd logged on to the wrong podcast then, because I'd seen Alan getting passionate. I've then heard of Gypsy Tales and Gypsy Goings On, and I actually thought I was on the wrong show for a minute. But yeah, obviously, I'm conscious of the time, lads, and you lads have probably covered it very well, and I'll catch it up in a while. I hope light's gone already. Yeah, do you know what? The weekend, it's disappointing, isn't it? Because as Newcastle fans, every year when the fixtures come out, it's all about how we're going to progress in the cup competitions. And the Brighton game was a very, very winnable, kind of doable task. And obviously with the draw, you know, with the teams that have gone out of the FA Cup already, it would have been a decent pathway, I think. You know, you never know who you're going to get in the final, but it's disappointing, hugely disappointing. However, I've got this worrying feeling that with all things considered, with all the kind of injuries and the projected team that we could play in the final, or the players that are going to be missing or injured or blah, 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 I'm just hoping we don't fall flat on our face and plateau at the moment. It's going to take a big, massive grouping together from that club and certainly the manager and players this week. Because at the moment, we're at a crossroads. We're either going to fall flat on our arse and end up finishing 9th in the bloody league, losing a cup final, or if we can get everyone together, we still have a great opportunity at Champions League football. We've still got a cup final to play. Now, I know that, you listen, the odds are stacked against us, but there's no football team in this world that's unbeatable on one day. You know, we've seen great teams in the past have been beaten and teams have turned up. So as much as I'm kind of like trying to get the feeling of what you lads have been talking about, but I think, listen, you know, we've still got a cup final. There's still a lot to play for in the league. It isn't, it's not within, it's not against us. We can do it. Like we've seen us. We turn up now and then. It's just got to be this week. There's got to be a good sitting down of everyone and saying, how do we want this season to finish? Because we could quite easily end up with nothing, and that for me would be, all being considered, where we are as a club. I still think that's a failure. If we end up with nothing, you know, no European football, no decent showing in a cup final. And I think I've kind of catched on to what the lads were saying there. We need to turn up. You know, we might get beat in the final, but if we turn up like we have been doing, I think what Alan was getting on, kind of caught back of it. What we don't want is a flat-ass performance at Wembley. I'd rather go all guns blazing. Now, I know there's a tactical thing to consider, and I know it's going to be a game of chess to a certain degree. We've got to at least come away, and them lads have got to at least come away. This may be the only cup final they're playing in their career, so we've got to give it them. We've got to give it some. But yeah, I won't go on too much, lads, because I know Steve, you're probably going to ask for scores and whatnot. And like I say, I haven't had a great take on what you lads have been talking about, but I just think, do you know what? Yeah, it was a kick in the teeth, silly mistake by Gordon. I do still think he's got that in his game, like I mentioned in our chat. I think Martin got on it before. I've not been that impressed with him recently, mate. I think sometimes he flatters to deceive, even though he has probably got all the talent in the world. When he turns it on, there ain't much better when he's in full swing. But yeah, I've been a bit disappointed with him, really. But I still think he's got that slight immaturity about his game, whether it be tactically, whether it be how he applies himself. And obviously, it ended up in a red card, but a bit silly. But you know what? On to the next. West Ham Monday night. They're doable. They're beatable. So let's get this season back on track, because at the minute, I think we all feel like we're in a bit of a spiral. So now's the time to change it, and it's critical.
Great
Well
stuff, lads. Great stuff. Fantastic. Passionate. That's what we wanted tonight. And I think it was quite measured, despite how angry I think a lot of us are feeling and upset. Great to have so many watching live as well. 830 of you watching, 400 on
Wow,
Twitter.
thank you.
Please jump
Thank
over.
you, everybody.
Please jump
Thanks,
over off
guys.
Twitter onto YouTube and subscribe.
Well done, lads.
Hit the NUFC Matters search on YouTube, and you can subscribe to the channel. We do 7 shows a week. I'm back tomorrow night. Sid from Talk of the Toon is on a little bit of compassionate leave. Probably going to be off for a couple of weeks now. Our thoughts are going with Sid at the moment. Joe Allen's going to step into the breach and fill in his place on Talk of the Toon. Rob and I will still be doing the music section for those of you who enjoy that. And it's going to be live at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And on Wednesday, we've got an Ask George special. Haven't had one of them for a while, so we're going to get George on live on Wednesday night for an Ask George. Thursday night, it'll be 6 o'clock. It'll be Gibbo and me. And on Friday, it will be the Amigos, as usual, at 5 p.m. Thanks to everybody for watching. And thank you to the lads. I'm going to play out now with the ads. Take care, lads.
Good boy.
Cheers, lads.
Take care, guys.
See you, lads. See everybody.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. or telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. 2 crew, driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Find them at their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email them at beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. You can find them at their website, media-arts.co.uk. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and your other podcast providers. If you want to help support the channel, hit the thumb up, which is the like button. Click share to share to your other social medias. Click join to join the channel. And click the subscribe button. We've also got links in our description for buy us a coffee and to be a Patreon member. Some events coming up. An afternoon with Sir Les Ferdinand, 6th of April, 12 till 4. Tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. No Covers takes place at the Clooney, Lilac Lane, Ryder and the Chris Norris Band. Tickets from theclooney.com or by telephone in 0191 230 4474. An evening with Steve Howie and Steve Watson, hosted by Joe Allen, takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre on the 27th of June. Tickets for that are from newcastlelegends.com. An evening with Peter Beardsley and Chris Waddle takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House on the 23rd of January 2026. Box office 0844 246 1000 or website tynetheatreandoperahouse.tv. An evening with Bad Manners takes place on Friday the 30th of January 2026 and tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. And we have copies of The Entertainers 1992 to 1997, Kevin Keegan's Legacy, available from newcastlelegends.com.